I was bringing the food anyway, so we're gonna have to deliver it. But that's the Gemara.
Thank you. Oh, you got the two Gemaras there.
Jacob, I'm sorry. Did you actually think that was going to work? I'm just curious.
No, he never comes. When I'm in my house, he doesn't come. He thinks he's ruining the privacy or something.
No, I just don't.
But anyway.
Just one for mine, right?
Two. There's two.
That's not mine.
No, the other one under. Okay, so Zog the Mishna, yeah? We'll finish by 9:30, hopefully. Yeah. Okay, so we have this quite interesting case over here. I think after working on this a couple of times today, I would like to think that I have a little bit of that's
this is the Mishna that Gary Larson got his start on. This is the cows thinking about what's going on.
Rachamim, very good. Rachamim, I don't know if anybody on here knows Gary Larson, but that
his chavrusa does. Because we learned many blot in the Gary Larson way, many blot. It gave us a very good understanding in the Gemara, some Gemaras.
That's very good, Rachamim. I think they had a Gary Larson calendar in Costco last week or 2 weeks ago, probably.
Are you serious?
And I wasn't going to buy it, and then I said, the far side is Gary Larson, right?
Yeah, they had far side. I thought it was gone for years.
I'm pretty sure they had it a couple weeks ago.
Oh, that's a shame. I've been looking for those.
Okay, so if I go tomorrow, Bez Hashem, and I see it, I'll buy it for you. But now Rachamim and the covered that line. Maybe I just might have to buy it if they have it. Anyways.
One second, Tiago, Howie Rose, I just heard Nebuch has cancer.
So
I think he was in a remission, no?
I don't know, but maybe we should do a little video for him and send it to him from the Daf.
You might need to get him to do like some pre-ones, like for all the different Masechtas in the future.
Yeah. Anyways, well, it didn't work.
That's so dark.
Anyways, okay, so let's see the Mishnah. Okay, so this Mishnah is talking about it's a few different pshatim how to learn this.
Oh, this is a crazy one.
How to learn this, but basically, this guy is imagining himself in a cow, right? That he's trying to figure out what his cow is thinking and his door, right? So Zok the Mishnah, yeah. Omar, if a guy says, Omra parazu hareini nazira, a guy says, my para said that she's a nazir. Ima imedasani, if I stand up. Right, so the guy comes in there in the Bezdin, I guess, or whoever, comes to the rabbi and says, my cow is saying that if she stands up, she's a nazir. Okay, what are you supposed to do with this guy, right? So or he comes in and says,
if he stands up.
If she stands up.
If she stands up. Okay.
She, right? We use the lashon nekeva for pets, right? So again, so Amra parazu hareini nazira and my medes ani. This para was saying that I'm a nazira if I stand up. Amar Della says that this door said hareini nazira im niftachani. I guess the door was not opening, and the guy says, by the way, the door told me that it's a door, that it's a nazir if it opens. So what's the story with this guy? Did this guy make a nizirus or not? So Beis Shamai,
this guy or the door?
The door. I'm saying, what is a door keeping being a nazir?
So how could you make me a nazir?
That's the question.
How could a door make me a nazir?
This is weird stuff. This sounds like stuff Julie's patients would be talking about.
Yes, Jesse, yes. Right?
Who's becoming another?
Listen, I can tell you something. My cow, I don't own a cow, but my doors are all nazirim. I've never saw them have wine, right? And they don't get haircuts, right? They don't. Well, haircuts maybe if they expand and they need to be shaved.
You're saying the cow's making him a nazir? The door's making him a nazir? The question
is, did he mean that he's going to become a nazir now? And he's talking through the cow. I told you, it's a strange Gemara, which I tell you. So Beis Shamai, I'm a nazir. Beis Shamai says, yeah, he's a nazir. Beis Hillel, I'm a nazir. Beis Hillel says he's not a nazir. Now, if you really analyze it, the Gemara is going to do this.
It's not one of the cases with the Pasuk of Beis Shamai.
No, not. right? So if when we're gonna realize that this is the same exact machlokes as yesterday's daf, right? Yesterday's daf was that the guy said that I'm a nazir and I'm not having figs, pressed figs and whatever figs, right? He's I'm a nazir and I'm not having figs. Yeah. So then we said that Beis Shamai said he's a nazir, and Beis Hillel said, "What are you talking about? He's not a nazir. Nazir has nothing to do with figs, right?" And then Rabbi Yehuda came along and said that even Beis Shamai didn't mean that he's a nazir. Beis Shamai meant that he just has a korban, right? So meaning not a korban, that he's answering himself to figs. So it's essentially the same format here. But here the guy said that his cow said is becoming a nazir, or his door is becoming a nazir. So Beis Shamai says that means the guy is a nazir. And Beis Hillel says he's not a nazir. Rabbi Yehuda, after Shamar Beis Shamai, Loi Amru, not Oimrim, the Bach changed it to Amru, Loi Amru, Ela Ba'omer Hare Parazu Alai Korban, Imay Medasi. If the guy says what I meant is that if this para stands up, then I am going to it's going to be on me. This para is going to be on me like a korban. Then it's also. So again, essentially, Rabbi Yehuda is saying that Beis Shamai only meant to say that this guy is going to make himself also if meaning he's making himself a neder. He's not. It doesn't mean to make himself into a nazir.
And what about the door?
Right.
What's the case of the door? If the door opens, then what? What's usher to him?
The door, he can't be neder from the door or from the cow.
Can't be neder from the door.
He make a neder against the door or against the cow. Right? Okay. So Gemara says, when I ask, Para Mika Mishtai, see, we're all mechaber to the Gemara's kasha. Right? So the para is Mika Mishtai. Can a para talk? So what is this guy saying?
Bilam's.
Bilam, yeah.
Oh, so you have Bilam's.
Yeah.
You also have the Gemara in Avodah Zarah that says that the donkeys that took donkeys that
took the Aron back. Yeah.
Took the Aron, it says Vayoshar, which really means they went straight, but some learned that it meant that they sang. Yeah. So there is precedence to such.
You have it. Har Carmel, Elio, Har Carmel.
Right.
Yaakov, this wasn't Kodim Sheshes Yimei Bereshis, like the donkey by what's it called though? I'm saying that was, I don't know if that's considered precedent.
I don't know.
Donkey.
Either way, the Gemara answers that the para was not talking. All right, so the Gemara asks, para Mika Mishtai? Can a para talk? And the assumption is can a door talk? Right?
So why didn't ask the door? What as the door is even better?
What?
The door is even better than the cow.
So Amar Rami Bar Chama, Hacham Ayaskina. No. So here's what we're talking about. We're talking about there was a para that was laying down in front of them. But Amar, and this guy said, Kisvura parazu and emedis. The para thinks that it can't get up. It's a lazy cow. The cow's sitting there, the cow can't get up. So the guy says, Hareni nazir mi besara. That's an important point. The Gemara adds in that word now. I am a nazir from its meat. Im amda me'ela. If it stands up by itself. That's what the Gemara says. That's what the guy meant when he said this neder. Not that the cow is really talking. He is sort of talking through the cow, right? And he's saying that if this para gets up, then by itself, without me helping it, then I am going to become a nazir. And then it got up by itself. So Mamela, Beis Shamai says he's a nazir, and Beis Hillel says he's not a nazir. So V'alchu Beis Shamai l'shitasan, and Beis Shamai goes with their shita from the previous Mishnah, Beis Hillel l'shitasan, and Beis Hillel is going with this shita from yesterday's daf. Beis Shamai da Amri, Beis Shamai is saying min hagroigros u'min advela havi nazir. We said yesterday that the guy says that he's a nazir, but he's a nazir from groigros, from dried figs and pressed figs. Havi nazir. Beis Shamai said he's a nazir. Hachanami ki omer b'psara. So too here he said he's a nazir from the meat. Right? What does meat have to do with nizirus? Nothing. But Beis Shamai held that same way figs don't have anything to do with nizirus, and the guy's a nazir. It's the same thing with basar. So that's so Havi Nazir is a Nazir. Beis Hillel, I remember Havi Nazir, and Beis Hillel says he's not a Nazir, right? Remember we had said that the pshat is that because Beis Shamai holds that he was a Nazir, right? And he is just whatever reason he said he just made a mistake that the figs are the thing, are part of nizirus, but it was just a mistake. And Beis Hillel says no, you can't do it, right? Well, actually, that was one pshat. The other pshat was that Beis Shamai says that he made a tois by hektish, and you cannot backtrack on a tois. Right? He thought that a nazir has to do with figs. He made a mistake, so it doesn't make a difference if he made a mistake. We say there's no backseas by hektish, no backseas by nazir. And Beis Hillel says he has to make it the exact. If he doesn't make it the right way, then he's not a nazir. So Gemara says, but we already had this case. Meaning, what are you saying? The same Machlokes here is the Machlokes from the last Mishna. So what do we need this for? Right. So Amarava Tarti Tlas. We need 2 and 3. Meaning we need 3. We're going to really need 3 cases. It's interesting why it just doesn't say Tlas, but we need all 3. What are the 3? Figs, cow, and door. Same machlokes. There's 3 machlokes in the Beis Hillel. Guy says he's a nazir, and he says he's a nazir from figs. He says he's a nazir from the door, and he's a nazir from meat. Right? So Amar Rav Tarti Tlas, v'chein Tana Reb Chia Tarti Tlas, v'chein Amar Rav Shia Tarti Tlas. You need all 3, but tzrichin. So why do we need all 3 cases? If you say just like the previous Mishnah, which is that the guy made himself a nazir from figs. So Hasam hu da Amri Beis Shamai have a nazir. That's why over there Beis Shamai said he's a nazir mishum de mechalfen va'anavim, because people do mix up figs with grapes. The guy is thinking, so I know a nazir can't have some type of fruit. He thinks, figs. You can't have figs, right? But that's not true. He just made a mistake. So that's why Beis Shamai says he's a nazir.
How does that stem? How does that stem with the Machlokes Chizki and Rabbi Yochanan?
Yeah, I was hoping you weren't going to ask that.
Sorry.
Yes, I'm not so sure how it stems. It was too much for me to try and even figure it out, be honest with you. It's like, I don't know if this stems, and that was the end of that. And I figured you would take it away. But yeah, I'm not so sure it does stem. Right? Fine, but basar b'anavim like michlef. Nobody's going to mix up grapes with meat. Yeah, parrots, you'll be masking. Yeah,
maybe with a mushroom.
I'm just going to. Mom is going to say that. Yeah.
What a mushroom?
Portobello mushrooms. I had one tonight. Yeah.
Oh, you could mix it up with meat.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true, but not grapes, right? Eat my basar.
Maybe the grapes from the Meraglim. No.
Large grapes. I was just reading today. There was a thing. There was an ad for all because of Tu B'Shvat to check for everything for bugs, right? So it was like the way to check grapes, they said, is soak it preferably for 15 minutes, the grapes, and then either rub it under water or just rub it very well. That's a whole lot of work for some grapes, right?
But see, what happened before? We had in the Gemara's times. What were they doing?
Times that we had talking cows?
No, I want to know what Rabbi Akiva was doing with strawberries and grapes.
I don't know.
Did he not eat anything? Was he so like these Tanaim not eating anything?
It's a different Gemara. It's a different Gemara.
Why do you think Rabbi Akiva ate something?
Akiva, the different child is who he called.
What I do know is there are many cases Mishnah says the Tanaim ate.
I was wondering, why did my
It's a different Gemara. Let him learn Chulin. Let him learn Yisora Achila or something, but it's not this Gemara.
I'm asking on this Gemara about the fruit in this Gemara.
Yeah, I don't.
Akira, respectfully, come on in the morning. This is a morning conversation. I hope it's okay for me.
Whatever. I just think it's funny. Yes, we don't eat anything anymore because everything is buggy. Yeah. I want to know if everything was buggy back then also. That's all.
Yeah, I hear.
No, but I hear that also.
Shaila is who they called to ask the Shilas. Was there a halacha hotline back then?
Yeah,
There
Go to the Beis
was a
Medrash.
string that went into each
I'm
person
giving-
that had a cup on the end
I'm
of it.
giving a plug. On this same Zoom, 8:50 every morning, we cover this topic and many more like it. Everyone is.
I say, oh, is that 10 to 9 or 9
Back in-
to 10?
10 to
That's what-
9. I'm sorry, you're
Back
right
in
on.
the
10 to
day-
9.
Back in the day, they weren't modern Orthodox, so they didn't care.
Oh, look at it.
No,
Yeah,
but then you have
There you
also,
go.
like you might see with the Chaim and the Yashiv who had to ask their wives, what am I eating?
right.
Like,
Yeah, but they already.
They didn't know the difference between any of these.
Yes,
is it?
they already.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Listen. Okay.
There's
I'll-
actually a good answer for all this, but this is after the daf.
Okay.
Are you gonna
All right.
blame it on COVID?
No. There's actually not a jaded answer. It's actually a very good answer.
Okay. You'll say it over after. But anyways, so your bottom line is nobody's mixing up meat with grapes, right? The Yidman Basar, and if you would say the case by meat, Hachu Don Beis Shamai have a Nazir, but there Beis Shamai would say is a Nazir, Bebisra B'chamra, because maybe he put together in his head, what goes together with meat, right? Like the Rav Shlomo said, another piece of meat. Okay, but while you're having that other piece of meat, you also want to have wine, right? So Bisra B'chamra. So in the guy's head, he thought, okay, there's nizirus from meat, from wine and meat. Of a groigers of dveil, but nobody's eating figs with wine. So that maybe then he wouldn't be a nazir. Kamashmal, and he is a nazir. Be it mahani tarti, and if you say that it's, if you say the figs and the meat, hani who the Gemara Beis Shamai, that's what Beis Shamai said is din, right? Because it's possible to get mixed up. Avodeles, who's confusing grapes or wine with a door, right? So then maybe there he'd be maida that can't possibly be a nizirus when the guy says that his door made a nizirus. Fine. Beis Hillel. Okay, and what do you need to get that case of Delis for? Because if you said the case of Delis, that's where Beis Hillel said that he's not a nazir. Because who confuses a door with a nazir? But the first two cases. Maybe Beis Hillel would say, somebody could mix up figs with nizirus and meat with nizirus, so maybe he would be Beis Shamai that he's a nazir. Kamash Malan Deloy. So we learn from this that it's not, and it's across the board Machlokes. In all situations, Beis Shamai says he will be a nazir, and in all situations, Beis Hillel says he will not be a nazir unless he actually uses the proper terminology for being a nazir. Fine. So then the Gemara asks, we just got finished saying, right? The Mishna says that the cow made himself a nazir. So we said, what cows don't talk. So we said, it's talking about where the cow is laying down on the ground, it's not going to get up, and the guy made this nizirus if the cow gets up by itself. So Rav is asking, which is quite an interesting question. He's asking, where does it say imam de me'elah in the Mishnah? Now, since when does that bother us, that kasha? That it doesn't say that in the Mishnah?
The Gemara usually asks it. You're saying the Gemara usually answers. Okay, so Kisurim Aksurim.
Right, or whatever, right? There's something missing from the Mishnah, or whatever it is. Switch it, this, that. Here it slugs it up.
This is more than just a Kisurim Aksurim. This is, if it would have just said these words, I would have understood the Mishnah. These are the words the Mishnah leaves out.
Okay, but Lamaisa, we say the Mishnah meant if it gets up by itself. Right?
Rashi uses that lashon actually.
Well, because that's what we're saying is pshat. That's what we're reading into the Mishnah, right? But anyways, okay. So with that, whatever it is, that's Rav's kasha. It doesn't say anything in the Mishnah about. All it says is the cow made himself a nazir. It doesn't say anything about a cow not getting up by itself. Elo amar Rava. So Rava says different pshat. Kegoin shayis para revutza lefanav. We're talking about where there was a para laying down in front of him, Va'amar, and he said, Harei alai korban. He said, if the cow gets up, then I'm going to bring a korban. Which korban? The korban of the that a nazir has to bring, which means that he's becoming a nazir. Right? So meaning what the Gemara is saying, what the Gemara is adding to this one is where the para was, yes, the para was laying down, and all he said that it's harei alai korban of a nazir, right? Right. So meaning it has nothing to do with whether the cow gets up by itself or not by itself. He's just saying if the cow gets up, so then I'm going to be I'm a nazir. Right.
That's enough to scare that cow to get up.
It could be. It could be. Right.
You could say the same thing by the door.
What do you mean?
The door you could give to Bedek Abayis. Same way you could give cow could be a korban, door could be for Bedek Abayis.
The door is an inanimate object.
Yeah, so
object. So it could take you the door's going to open because you're afraid that the door's going to go to Bedek Abayis.
You're saying you could give the equivalent. That's what you're saying, right?
Yeah, it's the same thing as an animal.
Yeah, okay. I'm not sure how we get what we're gonna do with the door part here. Right? But yeah. So anyways, but the way Rob is saying it, the way he's changing it now is not if it gets up, right, by itself. It's just saying he has in his head that what's in the cow's head. In the cow's head is if I get up, I'm going to make myself into a nazir. And then that's what the guy is thinking. So when it says, Bishlam para bas karbani, right? Eladelas bas karbani, which is what you're asking about. Meaning that all fits into the cow. But to the door, is it a bas karban? So Rabban, you're asking, well, okay, so it won't be a korban. You donate to Beis Hamikdash, but I guess
that's
maybe
the same as an animal going to for a korban.
Right, but I guess, well, I don't know if it must not be the same. It must be we say that delas to bedek habayis is not the same as korban. That's what you have to say, right? But anyway, so that's the Gemara's kasha. This all fits for a para. It doesn't fit for a door. So we're talking about where there was a para crouched down in front of him. Right? On Tommy Bays now. Right. So now again, they're all agreeing that it's talking about where it's Ravutza in front of him. Right? Va'amar, and he says, Hareini Nazir miyayin im loy amda. I'm a Nazir from wine if she doesn't get up. Right? Meaning if she doesn't get up without my help. That's what he means. If she doesn't get up without my help. And then she got up by herself. Right? Without this guy. So again, this guy, the cow was sitting there. And he's thinking in his head that the cow is thinking, I am not getting up. And that's all. There is no way I'm getting up. And if I do get up, then I'm becoming a nazir, which the cow is using in his mentality. The cow is using it meaning what he thinks the cow is thinking is that I don't want to get up. And if I get up, I'm going to make myself a nazir. And this guy obviously wants the cow to get up, right? And then it ended up getting by itself, but not with him.
Capable of making a nizirus.
How is a cow capable?
No, this guy who was thinking in a cow's head.
He's just making himself a nazir based on what he thinks is going on in the cow's head.
I mean, isn't that l'chala pachas shaita?
Yeah, well, that's what Jesse was saying. I mean, this guy, yes, it could very well be. But I don't know. Ich weiß nicht. But anyways, so again, he had said that if it gets up by itself, then that's not him. Meaning he's saying, I'm going to be a nazir if it gets up without my help.
What happens if Aaron Cohen said, I'll become a nazir if my staff eats snakes? He would say he was a shaita also. Why is he making the guy a shaita? Why is he a shaita?
I'm saying because the guy is trying to think what's going on in the cow's head.
So right? You see that all the way through Tanakh.
Tanakh? No, they don't, because they're busy killing each other.
Who learns Tanakh? Who learns Tanakh?
That's another thing, right? Yeah, but anyways, so
Speak for yourself.
Epicurus.
Speak for yourself, Doctor. I have the Tanakh on my shelf over here.
You're willing to admit that? You're willing to admit that?
Question is what it's doing there. Is it holding up the shelf on top of it? Anyways, so again, that's what he said. So Beis Shamai Savri Torfei Dahai Gavra. What's the main part of this guy's neder or nazir? Mishum Ukma Biyadehu. Basically, what he was saying is that his nizirus was that if I get this cow to get up, meaning if me, whoever this man is, right? He says, I'm going to be a nazir. If the cow does not get up from me trying to get the cow up, I mean, this cow's sitting there. The guy says, I got to get this cow to stand up. He says, if I don't get this cow to stand up, I'm going to be a nazir, right? But then the cow just gets up by himself. So now what? Is he a nazir? So Beis Shamai says, the main point of his thing was that he has to be the one to get the cow up. And he didn't get it up. So therefore, he's a nazir. Right? Again, the guy made a nizirus that if this cow does not get up from me getting it up, then I'm going to be a nazir. He was trying to inspire himself to make sure the cow gets up. So he says, if it doesn't get up from me, I'm going to be a nazir. And then the cow got up by itself. Right? Obviously, this cow wanted his boss or her boss to become a nazir. So when she heard that this guy's making nizirus, she got right up so that he would become a nazir, right? Follow Yukma. So he didn't get it up, and Mamela, she's a nazir. He's a nazir. Beis Hillel, I'm getting mashug in the head now, right? Beis Hillel Savri, and Beis Hillel says Mishum Deraviyahu. It had to do with the cow laying down on the ground, v'hakamas, and it got up. So therefore, he's not a nazir because Beis Hillel is saying he's not a nazir because he had said that if the cow gets up, I'm not a nazir. I'm only a nazir if it doesn't get up. So basically, the Machlokes Beis Shamai Hillel, the way the Gemara is thinking right now, is that Beis Shamai is saying you have to listen to the guy literally. And he said, if I get the animal to be up, I will not be a nazir. If I can't get it up, then I'm a nazir. He didn't get it up. The animal did it voluntarily, right? And Beis Hillel says, no, he meant that he just wants the animal to be up. Once the animal got up, there's no reason to be a nazir. So I'm going to ask, if this is the case, so what about the Seifa? Even when Beis Shamai said that he's a nazir, that's only when the guy said that this animal is going to be like a korban to me, right? But did the para grab onto anything here? Not meaning the para is not grabbing anything, right? But what lashon are you using here for this animal to become usher to him, right? Yeah, if he says, meaning because here we said that he says he's going to be a nazir from wine if the animal gets up. How do you fit that in that he's making a neder that the animal's usher to him if it stands up? Right? Again, Rabbi Yehuda had said that Beis Shamai didn't mean that the guy's becoming a nazir. Beis Shamai meant that if the guy gets up and the guy is saying if the cow gets up, then he's saying that he's going to make a neder that he's not going to eat from the cow, just like a nazir is usher on things, right? That all works if the guy just said the plain nazir, but here he said he's a nazir miyayin. So how can you say that Beis Shamai meant that when he's nazir for yayin, he means that he's making a neder from eating the meat, right? He said nazir miyayin. If he said nazir mi basar, that's one thing. He didn't. We're saying now that he said he's a nazir miyayin, so that can't be pshat. Ella. So then we say no. Going to Amar hareini nazir mi basara imloy amda. So now we're back to him saying, I am a nazir from the meat if it doesn't get up. And then it got up by itself. So Beis Shamai Savri Tarfidahu Gavra Mishum Ukme B'Yadehu. The main thing that guy was saying, the main terminology was that the cow had to get up from the owner. The owner did not get it up; it went up by itself. Therefore, he's a nazir. The reason all he wanted is the main thing that he was making himself into a nazir is because this cow was sitting on the floor. but it got up. So therefore, he does not have to be a nazir, right? So again, and now it fits in to Rabbi Yehuda, because Rabbi Yehuda says, no, Beis Shamai never meant he's going to be a nazir. Beis Shamai just meant that he's making a neder to eat the meat of this animal if it gets up, right? So then the Gemara says, so what's mashma? That according to Beis Hillel, let's say the animal would not have gotten up, right? According to Beis Hillel, if the animal would have stayed on the ground, Beis Hillel would be maida that he's a nazir, right? Now, based on what we learned from Beis Hillel in the last 2 days, how could he be a nazir? He didn't use the right terminology. He used basar, right? Again, we were saying, right, on Amud Aleph, we said, Beis Hillel holds if you want to become a nazir, you got to use the right terminology. What was the terminology that he used there? If the cow doesn't get up, I'm going to make myself a nazir from basar, right? So Lamaisa, the cow, Beis Hillel says the reason why he's not a nazir because the cow got up, right? Mashma, that if the cow stayed down, Beis Hillel would be minded that the guy's a nazir because the guy said if the cow doesn't get up, I'm a nazir. How could he be a nazir according to Beis Hillel? He used the lashon of basar, right? That flies in the face of everything we've been saying about Beis Hillel. But Beis Hillel sabri Eloi kamas habi nazir. If it doesn't get up, he's a nazir. But Amri b'sarale habi nazir. We said according to Beis Hillel, if a guy says that he's a nazir from basar, he's not a nazir. So our answer is very similar to the last teretz of yesterday's daf too. The tamayu the Beis Shamai ka'amri. So no, Beis Hillel is really going according to Beis Shamai. He's saying Liddi done according to me, meaning Beis Hillel talking now. Afilu loy kamas nami loy havi nazir. Even if the animal doesn't get up, he's not a nazir because he didn't use the right terminology. You can't say you're a nazir from meat. Liditkud amrisu havi nazir. But you Beis Shamai who holds that he's a nazir, aidulan mias, you should be minded to us at least the tarfid adin gavra. The main reason that this guy wanted to make himself a nazir is because this animal was sitting down on the ground and he wanted to get up. And it got up. So why is the guy a nazir? Right, again, this guy has this thing sitting down on the ground. He says, if I'm going to make myself a nazir if this animal doesn't get up. He's trying to inspire himself to get this cow off the ground. So he says, I'm going to be a nazir if it doesn't get off the ground. Right? So Beis Shamai says, and then it got up by itself. So Beis Shamai says he's a nazir. Beis Hillel says he's not a nazir, right? So we said Beis Shamai says he's not a nazir because he said if he gets it up and the animal got up by itself, so therefore he didn't get it up, so he's still a nazir. And Beis Hillel's answering back and saying, 1 second, according to me, he's not a nazir either way you cut the cake. Either way you cut the cake, he's not a nazir because the guy didn't use the right terminology. You can't become a nazir when you say something about meat. But even according to you, Beis Shamai, who says that he will become a nazir, but the animal stood up. So why are you saying that he's a nazir? So which Beis Shamai answers, Beis Shamai lav tarfei dai gavra mashum ukma v'yadehu v'lo yukma. Beis Shamai says, lav, it's not true. Tarfei dai gavra, the reason why this guy wanted to make himself into a nazir is because he wanted to make it that he himself gets the cow to stand up. And that didn't happen. And he did not get the cow to stand up. So since he did not get the cow to stand up, he failed, and therefore he is a nazir. And that's all. And that is it that's all for tonight's daf. Oh, I didn't send out the.
Yaakov, look at the clock.
Look at that, huh?
Wow. 1 second, Yaakov, we didn't discuss what are we doing tomorrow?
Oh no, we got to wait for a Baron to log off for that one. It gets him agitated. But it's after the learning now, so we could do it.
I'll look up Luch pension.
What time is Luch pension tomorrow? 55? 4:55?
I'm looking it up right now.
I think it's 57.
57?
57? 57. Tomorrow's daf grada is Geshmak. Some of it is Geshmak. It's a relatively long daf.
Yeah, but for all those that are worried about the length of the daf, I will not be on tomorrow.
Oh, yes.
Gershon, where are my kugels?
Guys should thank God for England being ahead of
I
us.
finally ordered 6 kugels from the guy. Where are they?
You did? You ordered?
Guys, if I were you, I'd fly back now and make it for him.
Yeah. But anyway, so let's call it for
4:15,
4 o'clock.
4:15. A Motzei Shabbos.
7.
7 is better.
7. Yeah. Okay.
7 is
Motzei
better.
Shabbos 7. No, Motzei Shabbos you should be on, Gershon. Did he just go off?
6:26 is ice.
Oh, so 7 o'clock is fine. 7 o'clock is fine. Okay, so 4:15 and 7 o'clock.
You got
Okay,
it.
so now I'll just do a little chazara quickly, and then we'll hear from Simon about his bugs. Yeah. So the Mishnah says, right, that if he, if a guy says that that the cow says if he gets up, or the door says if he opens, he's going to be a nazir. So we said Beis Shamai says he's a nazir, Beis Hillel says he's not. And Yehuda says that it didn't have anything to do with nizirus. It was just that he's making a neder that if the cow gets up or if the door opens, that he's going to make himself also from that. So the Gemara asked, can cows talk? So we said, so there's really 3, and ultimately there's 3 terutzim about what this guy is trying to do with these cows. The first teretz is he was imagining what's going on in the cow's head, right? And he said that he's going to make a nazir from the meat if it stands up by itself, right? So, and then it stood up. So then that's the Machlokes Beis Shamai Beis Hillel that we had before, whether somebody makes himself a nazir or not, right? So but he uses the figs, so that Beis Shamai says he's still a nazir, Beis Hillel says he's not a nazir. So then the Gemara says, so we have 3 cases that's seemingly saying the same thing: doors, cows, and figs. So the Gemara says, why you need all 3? Why you need all 3? Because you would have thought maybe each one has its own reason why maybe it shouldn't get confused with wine. But at the end of the day, the Machlokes is across the board, right? Then the Gemara says, but it doesn't say anywhere that the cow's trying to get up in the Mishnah, right? So then we answered that Rava answered that it's talking about where he's a nazir if it stands up, not if it stands up by itself. If it stands up, then he's going to there's going to be a nazir, yeah. But that only makes sense for the cow. The Gemara asks, what about for a door? So then on our basis, it's somewhere where the cow was saying that if it's not getting up, and if it does get up, it's going to become a nazir. So the guy's using it to inspire himself, and he says that if I don't get this cow to stand up, then I'm not a nazir. So Beis Shamai says, Lamaisa, he didn't get it to stand up; it stood up by itself. So therefore, he's a nazir. And Beis Hillel says, no, he's not a nazir because it stood up. The main thing was that he wanted the cow to get up, not that he himself had to be involved. So the Gemara says, if that's the case, then how do you understand Rabbi Yehuda, who says that as talking about nazir? The guy made a nazir miyayin. How could you say that Beis Shamai meant that he's not going to eat meat? He didn't mention a word about not eating meat. He said something about wine. Right? So then we answer, it's talking about where he said that'll be a nazir from the meat if the animal doesn't get up. So then we said, okay, so it's mashma from this whole Gemara that Beis Hillel would hold that theoretically if the animal did not get up, he'd be a nazir. How could you say, according to Beis Hillel, he can't be a nazir? It doesn't fit into the parameters of a nazir, right? According to Beis Hillel, you have to be, in order to be a nazir, you can't say figs, you can't say door, you can't say meat, you have to say yayin. So we said, yeah, that's true. Beis Hillel would hold he's never a nazir, even if the animal doesn't get up. But what was Beis Hillel saying? Beis Hillel saying, according to you, Beis Shamai, who holds he's a nazir, in this case, he shouldn't be a nazir because the bottom line is the animal got up. To which Beis Shamai answers, no, he meant that the boss has to get the animal to get up, not that it should get up by itself. Since it got up without the boss's help, therefore he is a nazir. And that is the end of that daf. Tomorrow's daf is considerably more understandable, and the next daf is Motzei Shabbos is a lot of lumdus of Roiv and Gershon daf. It's a Gershon daf on Motzei Shabbos. Yeah, but anyway, all right. Have yourselves a fine night. What?
Gershon, where are you in England?
Motzei Shabbos.
Okay,
we switch it?
I'm gonna miss Friday.
Is that on?
We never discussed my tefillin.
Oh.
Well, we discussed it for 4 hours. What are you saying now?
No, I got it back.
Oh, what did he say?
Let's just say Tzviako probably wouldn't be happy, and whatever. He says he has to fix some things. Let's just
Found
say
the far side in it.
You have pictures?
Yeah.
All right,
Some bazooka rappers.
I remember that. I remember that one kid's
Wait,
grandfather.
Akiva, you have pictures of the Parshias?
No, you could ask him. Tell him that I allow. Because I wouldn't know, Gershon. You tell me what you think. I wouldn't know. I didn't know what
I
this
did
stuff
it in the
is.
Daf. I just told the kids I should go downstairs.
Give me a third party. You can ask him, tell him,
Did he tell you?
I'm
Did he
curious.
tell you what kind of stuff he had?
doors talking.
He showed me some stuff. He showed me like the olive, the bottom part of the olive didn't have a clear yud.
Oh, that's a big problem.
In Israel.
There's two choices.
He said a test.
They have another choice,
Part
100, but
that's
then you
supposed
only
to come
have
in,
250
didn't
minutes.
come in fully.
$100. What?
Yeah,
250 minutes you're using 250 minutes. You used it in a day.
He said it looked like a sama.
It's unlimited text. That's only,
Yeah.
That's $100 and you have 30 days.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts?
New line out.
Alright,
So I saved my 2 lines. I had a third line, $10. 45.
Okay, so
What's the deal with making a bracha on freezing dough?
And then Gershon, I asked him for Mahuda.
Yeah,
What would
I-
Mahuda cost?
If it was
you pay more than 4
No,
pounds.
what would Mahuda cost?
Well, the whole bag.
Oh, yeah, what did he say?
And it grew.
He said minimum, just the Parshias alone would cost around 1,200.
I gave you an answer. It didn't work for you.
What's the question?
Yeah.
Make a
That's what it
bracha.
costs. Yep.
And then with the
that's what they're going
another
for now.
22 to 2,500 altogether.
Total. Yeah.
So you bring in your own phone, you get in the phone.
And Ritsuas and putting it together, yeah.
No, it's
You bring in
altogether
your phone, so that's it. That's
probably
what it
closer
is.
to
Yeah.
25.
That's what I told you about
If you bring
Yeah.
your phone, you can cancel afterwards. That's what I asked. If you don't bring your own phone, I can cancel.
Yeah,
I say,
no, I wanna go there.
He said, I think
Crazy
he
world.
was telling me one particular person, like Borowski or something.
$200.
Okay.
Yeah, he's a good cyclist. He's a good guy.
You're on my account. You can do whatever you want. You're on my
I think my
account.
son has Borowski.
Yeah.
Because you can't go into my
Yeah.
type plan.
Yeah.
By the way, Gershon still has his watch.
Yeah.
He still has his watch right on there. Okay, we'll go
Anyway,
Alright,
Simon, what do you
go.
want to say about the Bucks?
Yashikaya.
All right,
Good
Simon,
night. Take care,
have a
guys.
good night and a good Shabbos. Simon,
I gotta go to marriage.
can't hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Now we hear you.
What'd you say about bugs?
I was gonna go really dark on that one, but I chose not to.
Okay.
I don't get it.
God, oh, bugs. We didn't have these types of problems as we do today. When we started doing something called the monoculture, like by me, you can go miles and just see corn or soybeans. It takes out the diversity in the crops, and this is why Kilaim is a very interesting thing, because really you should have a lot of different diversity in how you grow and the steps you grow. But
How do we know they didn't have bugs then?
they did. No one said that. I didn't say they didn't have bugs. They didn't have the infestation problems that we have today.
How do we
Because
know that?
scientifically, they didn't have it. They just didn't
They
have
didn't
it.
have bugs in fruit.
They not saying they didn't have bugs. You're
When
going one nuance to another.
Simon, when is they? Because the Mishnah Berurah Chavetz Chaim writes that you need a mumcha on Pesach, right? So I forgot his lashon by checking the lettuce on Pesach.
You need
That's
to.
that.
They always needed a check. What I'm saying is that today they didn't have the types of problems that we have today, or at least in the degree in which we have it today, where literally everything's infested with everything. Because when these monocultures start doing things, when they started doing these monoculture growing periods of just soy or just X, Y, and Z, they started sucking all the minerals and the vitamins and stuff out of the what do you call it? Out of the soil. And instead of just letting it go or regenerate with a different type of plant, like beans are very good at pulling nitrogen from underneath the ground up, so that plants can have that nitrogen fix that they need. What they started doing is they started putting chemicals in the NPK scale, which is potassium, nitrogen, whatever the other K is, whatever. And what happened was that it wasn't regenerating the soil infrastructure. So it's just like when your body gets sick, when you get more and more run down, you don't sleep, you don't eat properly, you can get sicker. It's the same way with soil. So the things that are growing out of the soil are more susceptible to having more diseases, more bugs, more
I
things
knew
like
you were
that.
blaming it on COVID.
I blame everything on COVID.
Happens to be climate change is blamed for why there's less bugs, not more.
I mean, it depends on that's true, but when it comes to infestations, you don't need the same amount of bugs. They just need to be in the wrong places. The plants aren't able to fend for themselves, which is a big issue. So that's
I
That's
don't
my-
understand, Simon, you're contending that aphids and thrips didn't exist?
no, I never said that. I said that at a certain point, plants are able to fend off for themselves the majority of what these bugs were.
How do they know this scientifically? How do they know this? That 500 years ago there were no bugs.
You can go. I mean, at the beginning of they've had studies. They've had all sorts of scientific studies, botanical and otherwise, through all
You
these
could probably
things.
do a case study with it.
Oh, it's not reliable.
But
No, but how do you know
even
what
now,
happened 500 years ago?
you don't know how I don't know you don't know anything of anything, but with what the scientists are saying about these different things, and you don't even have to say 500 years ago. You could say 100 years ago at the beginning of the Industrial Revolution, when all these things started taking place and populations grew, and so they needed to be able to grow more food to feed more of the population. The idea of the GMO, and not that I'm anti-GMO, but the concept of the GMO was genetically modified organisms that were able to grow more, be more productive so that they can feed more people. But when they started planting those specific things, they weren't planting other things, and now they're seeing with regenerative agriculture that they'll plant different things throughout the years, and they're getting less and less bugs. But throughout the year, they're planting 5 to 10 different crops because they're all fixing the soil to build a healthier soil.
Thank you. Have a good night.
Rabbi Stein, I had a question. Can I invite Weissman over Friday night for drinking?
Not this week because it's Shiva.
His Shiva's over Erev Shabbos.
No, it's not. It's over Shabbos morning.
So Shabbos, I'm just curious, how come? I thought there's no
Because
morning on Shabbos.
There isn't, but there's morning in private.
Okay,
Morning
fine.
in private because of the light was Sunday, so Shiva's over Shabbos morning. Right. So, but next week you could have him, and Shabbos morning you could have him.
Oh, sounds good. Well, Shabbos morning will be by Ami.
Boy, he's making a suit over there?
By Shayashiv, yeah.
Oh yeah? Very nice. I don't see how I'm gonna get over there with davening with Rabbi Groner.
Tell Rabbi Groner to come there and daven in the base measures cutting.